I first got interested in vertebrate paleontology as a freshman at the University of Chicago. I actually went there to be a political science major and happened upon a paleobiology class, and the rest was history. I got the bug, I started preparing fossils, and I ended up transferring to Berkeley, which was an equally great place to study paleontology, and pursued my interest there. For a little while though, I was sort of debating between the fields of conservation and paleo, and I felt as if I had to make a decision. It was sort of an either or. But the really great thing is that the fields have sort of come together where we can now use the fossil record to ask questions of relevance to conservation. So most of my research is centered around looking at mammalian responses to climate change in the past. And instead of looking at sort of modern systems, we can use that fossil record and go back thousands or even millions of years to look to see how animals have moved, adapted, or what they've done in response to changing climates. And from this can actually allow us to extract lessons learned about climate change. So some of the things that we've been able to determine so far is that aridification has really played a large role in the potential extinction of some megafauna in Australia. And so we've seen the direct effects of aridification on sort of the diets of these animals, and then potentially making them more vulnerable, including various herbivores and the marsupial lion, which is a fun one. We've also tried to look at megafaunal extinctions in places like North America and try to evaluate hypotheses, but at the same time look at sort of the consequences of those extinctions. So how has these large extinctions that have already occurred affected things that are now alive today? So that's also really critical. So I've had a lot of really important mentors at all the different institutions I've been at. My PhD advisor was really helpful in providing me with good professional development and sort of making me feel as if I could sort of do it all. I could have a family and I could be a vertebrate paleontologist, and that was Bruce McFadden. I've also been really inspired by people who haven't been official mentors, so it was really phenomenal to see so many women presidents as I was a graduate student, and to see that was sort of the normal, or the new normal for the society. And even just this last year, it's been really inspiring to see so many women on the executive committee, and just see that the leadership is really now dominated by women, which is wonderful. So one mentor that was really helpful as an undergraduate was Mark Goodwin, and he helped get me a job in the prep lab. He got me to my first SVP meeting. He got me out in the field, and he really helped facilitate a lot of these things. He also connected me with a lot of the graduate students at the university, and they therefore then connected me with other folks. So it was extremely helpful early on. I always go to the meeting for a sense of inspiration, and always feel as if I'm a part of this society and can be a part of the society, which is great. It wasn't until I started as a faculty member that I started to realize that there were a handful of people who didn't believe that I fit in their department, and that became really obvious. There was also a handful of people that didn't believe that, women can have a family and an academic career. And so for me, one of the most challenging times is I literally had just come home from having my second child, and I found out that my 4-year sort of review had been overturned. And so it had previously been voted a positive vote. I was a little hesitant to file for maternity leave. I waited until the child was born and did so. And after that point, they revoted and voted no. So at that point, I still remember looking down at my daughter, not knowing how I was going to support my family, being the primary breadwinner, and having another child as well. And it was a terrifying and probably the scariest moment of my academic career. Now, fortunately, I had faith in the system, and there were folks that made it right, and my institution was supportive of me. But it just, the idea that there can be just a few people who don't want you in their club, who can really make it challenging, was really eye-opening for me. And when I would share this story with some of the young folks, they were shocked. They didn't think this could happen in, the 21st century. And when I would share it with more senior folks and get their advice, they were equally horrified, but knew that this happened. And so I think it's something that even right now I'm a little terrified to mention, but I think it's something that we need to bring attention to. And it's not necessarily a function of the institution, but it's just a function of a few people behaving badly and not believing that women have a place at the table. And I think that needs to change. One of the primary ways to actually make changes is to bring attention to this issue. So I absolutely love the field of vertebrate paleontology, and I feel that I get a support every year when I come to the meeting from both men and women. And so I would definitely encourage any man or woman interested of any background to pursue the field, that they too can do it. It's a fantastic field. It's incredibly rewarding scientifically, but it's also changing quite a bit in a positive way and becoming more diverse. Right now, my lab is primarily women. I actually have to actively recruit and make sure I have a diverse group, including men in my lab group. And I think they're very inspired by the sort of changes that have been happening. A few things I would suggest to women moving forward is to find mentors, whether they are official mentors or unofficial mentors, that there's so much that we learn as we progress through. We learn from our failures, we learn from our mistakes, and if you can connect with people who have made it through, who have become faculty members or are working at museums, who you see and you are inspired by, those are the people to go to and ask questions, and they're more than happy to sort of share their knowledge and help you on this sort of big, amazing adventure. One thing I haven't mentioned and most people don't know about me is I actually used to have epilepsy and had 30 to 40 seizures every day. And so I think it's important to mention that, because there are lots of people out there who have disabilities who may not believe that they can go out in the field and become a paleontologist and embark in this area. But in fact, you can. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I sort of want to be a role model for those individuals as well.